Breaking tonight, a tragic outcome in the search for a missing woman who police say admitted to killing her.
Plus, new hope in a cold case murder in Grand County.
Thank you, dog, when you told me 6 months ago you were coming.
I'll bet you who did this your life that we catch you.
How a celebrity investigator may help a family desperate for answers.
Right now, tracking a lot of wind here across the state. Red flag warnings issued for tomorrow, plus wind advisories and a chance for some rain all ahead of our first heat wave.
The fight for funding. Community members are trying to save and revitalize the Murray Theater. Why they worry this historic spot is on the chopping block.
All the design cues on the street tell you that it's not a place where driving fast is acceptable.
And after a year of deadly road incidents, Salt Lake City takes a major step tonight in making the streets safer.
We start with breaking news tonight. A man has now been arrested after police say he admitted to killing his ex-girlfriend and then dumping her body in a remote area of Tooele County.
The body of 23-year-old Brooklyn Tyree was found near 5 Mile Pass Recreation Area, and that is where we find Fox 13 News reporter Jenna Bree tonight. Jenna, what can you tell us?
Bob and Kelly, the Tooele County Sheriff's Office says last Friday night, a couple people were walking in the 5 Mile Pass and they found a dead body right here where I'm standing. And also the day before, the Salt Lake City Police Department says they contacted Tooele officials about a missing woman named Brooklyn Tyree. They say she was supposed to be heading to the Tooele area to see some friends earlier in the week and had not been heard from since. Family members reported she and her 7-month-old baby were last seen by Brandon Zipperly, her ex. At first, investigators couldn't confirm the identity of the body they found until Salt Lake City Police provided video of Zipperly picking up Tyree last week. The clothes she was wearing identical to the victim they found. During an interview, police say Zipperly admitted to shooting his ex-girlfriend, hiding the body, and disposing of her personal belongings, and he wasn't working alone.
We got him out here, but during the search warrant at his apartment, we found a shoe. And the shoe had a similar tread pattern to a footprint we had seen at the crime scene. It was found that shoe belonged to his fiancee, Elizabeth Ludwig.
Adding to all of this grief and anxiety and just emotional trauma has been their outrage at how uncaring and incompetent the police seem to be.
Rocky Anderson, former Salt Lake City mayor, says he was helping the family this week, looking at text messages between Zipperly and Tyree's sister when Tyree first went missing. He tells us that alone should have made police conclude the woman was in huge danger and probably had already been killed. Zipperly and his fiancée, Elizabeth Ludwig, both booked into jail for obstruction of justice, and Zipperly for murder. Reporting live in Tooele County, Jenna Bree, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Jenna, thank you. An unsolved double homicide case in Moab last August is getting some added publicity tonight. Dwayne Chapman, otherwise known as Dog the Bounty Hunter, is in Moab.
And that is where we find Fox 13 News anchor Brian Schnee, who joins us live tonight. Brian, what is the bounty hunter saying about this case?
Bob and Kelly, good evening to you both. When we spoke with Dog the Bounty Hunter earlier tonight about the murders of Kylan, Schulte, and Crystal Turner, he called it one of the most horrendous crimes that he's ever seen or heard of. Now he and his crew, who he calls the Essentials, are in Moab this week trying to gather more clues and tips on the unsolved murders of the two women.
Thank you for answering my prayers. Thank you, dog, when you told me 6 months ago you were coming.
At the request of family, Dwayne Chapman, known as Dog the Bounty Hunter, and his team are in Grand County working to get answers on the unsolved murders of Kylan, Schulte, and Crystal Turner.
We stay on it till we catch them or we get the person.
Chapman says they've been working on this case for roughly 24 hours now.
During our investigation, the murderer had to know them. When you shoot someone 6 times a piece, that is worse than any hate crime.
They visited the camping area where the women were found on August 18th of last year. and say they've talked to a number of possible suspects.
It is, I think we agree that it's definitely one person.
Chapman says they have aerial imagery showing a vehicle that may have been in the area the day the crimes were committed.
Read more of the report, how they were shot 3 times, 3 times, 3 times, 3 times, and I thought, you punk. Wait till I get a hold of you.
While the official investigation from law enforcement remains ongoing, there's now some added support in Moab.
You've given me hope.
Thank you.
You guys have helped me already start to heal.
Dog and his team don't work in conjunction with local law enforcement. In this case, that would be the Grand County Sheriff's Office. However, they have added another $10,000 to the reward. So if you have any information, any tips, they'd like to hear from you. We have their contact information at fox13now.com. Also, the Grand County Sheriff's Office telling me today they are planning to release an update on the investigation into the murders of Kylan Schulte and Crystal Turner at some point this week. We're live in Moab tonight. Brian Schnee, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Brian, thank you. South Salt Lake police have identified a man found shot and killed in the middle of the road overnight.
Police say 27-year-old Romero Charles Stevens was found dead at Main Street and West Utopia Avenue. Officers say there were initial reports of a fight in the Winco parking lot, and then there were multiple gunshots.
Investigators are looking for this dark blue Chevrolet Impala, believed to have been made between 2014 and 2020. They believe it is involved in this case. If you know where this Impala has been or is right now, or anything that can help police, call the South Salt Lake Police Department.
Tonight, Salt Lake City Council unanimously passed an ordinance to lower the speed limit of roads in residential neighborhoods. This would only apply to streets that currently have a speed limit of 25 miles per hour, which is the city's default speed limit. That would change now to 20 miles per hour.
Statistics show that if you're hit by a car, walking at 20 miles an hour, the odds of being killed are about 7%, but that it increases exponentially. At 30 miles an hour, it's about 50-50. So just that 10 mile an hour difference would save a lot of lives.
This comes after a suspected drunk driver hit and killed a pregnant 24-year-old woman and hospitalized her 2-year-old daughter at 1700 South near 900 East last week.
The Utah Highway Patrol has issued a direct warning about driving at excessive speeds. As of May 4th, a new law makes driving at 105 miles an hour or faster a misdemeanor. And if you're caught, you can be cited for reckless driving. It's an effort to reduce deadly crashes on the road. Sergeant Cameron Roden says different factors contribute to deadly crashes, but speeding is the biggest one.
Impaired driving, speed, following too close, with a lot of those, but speed tends to be one of our highest contributors when it comes into deadly crashes.
Governor Cox signed the bill making driving at excessive speeds into law back in March. In addition to being cited for reckless driving, you can have your license suspended for 60 days on the first offense and 90 days for the second offense within 3 years of the first.
There was a chill in the air today, and at times the winds were really picking up.
Yeah.
Yes, and a lot more wind in the forecast for tomorrow. It's calmed down a lot here across the state. We're seeing a beautiful sunset this evening. Chris Williams just posted this picture in our Facebook group. Here's what we're tracking for you. We do still have partly cloudy sky from about Salt Lake down through Cedar City and into eastern Utah. South of I-70, things are looking pretty clear east of I-15 for the most part. But we're tracking temperatures that are going to be hot this upcoming weekend, so enjoy the cooler temps while we have them. 57 for Salt Lake, 54 for Provo, 53 right now for Ogden, St. George still in the 60s. Salt Lake overnight, we hang out in the 40s starting at midnight tonight and through much of the evening, but we will briefly drop into the 30s for some portions here along the Wasatch Front. Ogden, when you wake up, 39. Provo, 40 degrees. Salt Lake, we're going to have a lot of wind across the state. Salt Lake County, we're looking at wind gusts 25 to 35 miles per hour, but Utah County south and east, we're tracking wind up to 55 miles per hour tomorrow, where we have red flag warnings, the first fire warnings of the season coming up.
A pipe bomb was detonated in South Salt Lake right here against this curb. What the police department has to say about the investigation that's just getting started.
After years of inactivity, what will be the fate of the old Murray Theater? Why supporters say it's worth saving.
The reality is we live in a desert and we rely on a single source for water. So we have to do all that we can to be water wise.
And see what some cities in southern Utah are doing in this historic drought to conserve all the water they can.
Is Donovan Mitchell that guy that can lead the Jazz to an NBA championship? Coming up, we'll hear from Quinn Snyder on Mitchell's development.
Media personality Paris Hilton met with Biden administration officials at the White House today about child abuse laws. Hilton became an advocate after sharing her story of emotional and physical abuse experienced as a teen while attending the Provo Canyon School here in Utah. Last year, she testified in support of a Utah bill that regulates the so-called troubled teen industry. That bill passed the Utah legislature. Since then, she's been lobbying the Biden administration to pass laws on the federal level.
Utah Senator Mitt Romney now pushing for the FDA and the Department of Agriculture to do more about the baby formula shortage. It stems from both supply disruptions, also a massive safety recall from major formula maker Abbott. That recall is linked to several reports of hospitalized infants, 2 of whom died. Senator Romney's letter to the FDA commissioner and the Secretary of Agriculture says, quote, the responsibility falls on the FDA and the USDA to protect infant health by ensuring they have access to safe formula, and when crises arise, to initiate contingency plans to mitigate shortages that risk the lives of infants across the nation.
A St. George area lawmaker has resigned from the Utah House of Representatives. Representative Travis Siegmiller is leaving office. He told the House he is moving outside the boundaries of his district. But Siegmiller also recently struck a plea deal with prosecutors to settle charges of poaching. He could have faced a House ethics investigation had he not resigned. Utah House Speaker Brad Wilson's office says because of his resignation, that is no longer necessary. The Washington County Republican Party will pick Siegmiller's replacement in a special election.
New at 9, residents and history lovers of downtown Murray, they're trying to save the iconic theater and restore the venue to what it once was.
It's been an ongoing discussion for years, full of progress, letdowns, and now uncertainty. Fox 13 News reporter Emily Tenser explains why people worry it's now on the chopping block. She joins us live tonight. Emily.
Bob Kelly, this sign, this marquee, it's all an iconic staple of State Street and Murray. Now, this theater would have been completely renovated by now if the pandemic hadn't struck, putting the project and the funding on hold. Now, restorers say now is the time to fix it, or else it's at risk of being sold and potentially demolished.
It's been years since concert goers and theater lovers have walked through the doors of the Murray Theater, and some community members feel like it's now or never to remove these gates once and for all.
We are continuing to fight for the icons that we have left.
The city's wanted to renovate this theater for years. It even received $3.5 million from the county, but that was pre-pandemic, and all the plans, renovations, and funding that they had got put on hold.
It takes the wind out of your sails when that was one of the things you could count on.
Now funding is in the hands of the city council, as is the fate of transforming this theater to what it once was.
I believe this is our only chance to get all of the funding together to actually bring this project to fruition that the city's been working on for a really long time.
According to the historic Murray First Foundation, the theater first opened in 1938. It's one of the few examples of the Art Moderne architecture style in the state.
That's kind of a rarity in Utah. I mean, you don't see a lot of that style. That's kind of more something you'd see in, Miami or LA or something.
Clark Bullen with the Murray Cultural Arts Board says this theater is the key to bringing life back to downtown.
This is supposed to be the catalyst, the thing that starts the revitalization of downtown.
Supporters of the the project are asking donors to commit financially and for the community to reach out to council members.
It's a lesson that we learn the hard way all the time. Like, we don't realize what we had until it's gone. And once it's gone, there's no bringing it back.
There are a lot of factors here. The project already has funding from some donors and the county, but now they need the funding from the city. Murray City Council will have a work session tomorrow to discuss this. Reporting live in downtown Murray, Emily Tenser, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, tomorrow is going to be a really windy day here across the state with our first fire warnings of the season. But first, a really nice, gentle sunset tonight. This picture coming in from Justin. I just love these light pastels in this picture from Ensign Peak Trail. Tomorrow, the wind starts ramping up all ahead of a system that's off to our west. This quickly passes us and brings us some chances for valley rain and mountain snowfall overnight into Thursday morning, pausing this at 4 a.m. just centered right over Utah. Then that quickly exits and we have a nice westerly flow as we wrap up the week. So wind has died down tonight. It's still pretty gusty down towards Cedar City and down into Blanding, about 20 to 25 miles per hour, but that's nothing compared to what we're going to be experiencing into tomorrow. So let's go ahead and start with the basics. When you wake up tomorrow, 8 a.m. here across the state, your day's just getting going. You're going to have a little bit of a light breeze in the mountains, but check this out. Second half of the day tomorrow, highlighted in purple, almost all of Utah, about 3/4 of Utah, eastern Utah, all the way down through central Utah, Richfield south, even into Washington County, down towards Lake Powell. Those are wind gusts 45 to 55 miles per hour. This is enough to cause potentially some power outages. I would recommend having your phone fully charged just in case, and we'll go over some more information in just a moment. But right now, as we're getting ready for bed, it's a cool evening. 57 in Salt Lake, 54 for Provo, 50 in Tooele right now, 53 for Ogden. As we look down towards the central part of the state, Beaver 50 right now, into Manti, same thing, 50, 58 for Price, 70 for Hanksville, 66 for Moab, and for St. George, temperatures close to 70 degrees. So with our wind alerts for tomorrow, we have wind advisories for the West Desert, for portions of Washington County, and then for central and southeastern Utah and northeastern Utah. Power outages possible. Anything that's not secured in your yard could blow around. If you have any umbrellas that are up, definitely take those down. High-profile vehicle travel could be tough. Possible rough conditions on lakes and areas of blowing dust. Plus, we have our first red flag warnings of the season. Our fire outlook for tomorrow is to the critical level all the way up to I-70 along I-15 down through Washington County, all the way over towards Blanding and the Four Corners. So Salt Lake City through the next couple of hours, temperatures in the 40s for much of the night. We briefly drop into the 30s here along the Wasatch Front when you wake up tomorrow morning. And overnight temps for Provo 42. This is at 6 a.m. 41 for Tooele, 39 for Ogden. Salt Lake for a high tomorrow close to 70 degrees. We're going to be a little bit cooler come Thursday. So tomorrow, warm and windy here across the state. We start seeing a chance for some rain to move in Wednesday night. We'll get to those details later in the hour. St. George, you're in the 70s through Thursday, 80s for Friday, close to 90 actually, and then close to 100 degrees Saturday through the middle of next week. For Salt Lake City, we have 60s through Friday, 70s on Saturday, 80s this weekend, our first 80s of the year. I'm tracking that heat wave for you later in the hour.
Thanks, Allison. A piece of flying history is in Wendover tonight. How you can get a tour and maybe even a flight in a B-29 Super Fortress.
And a Real goal off the field. Why the soccer club was busy packing and handing out food today.
One of only 2 B-29 Super Fortresses still flying made a homecoming trip to the historic Army Air Base in Wendover today. The big warbird named Doc is in Wendover today and tomorrow. You can even take a ride on it if you'd like, or you can take a ground and cockpit tour. The 509th Composite Group, under the command of Colonel Paul Tippett, trained in Wendover during World War II.
This is where the atomic missions trained for, and it was a really super secret airfield, and we're excited to be able to present that history and let the public come out and see what was really involved during World War II with all this training.
2 B-29s that trained in Wendover were the Enola Gay and the Boxcar, which dropped the atomic bombs on Japan in August of 1945. Flights and tours of a PT-17 Stearman and a Texan A-6 are also available.
Rising food costs affect everyone, so members of Real Salt Lake, they decided to chip in today and help out those struggling with food insecurity. Today at Mid-Valley Elementary School, the team held a food drive where they packed and handed out meals with the help of the Utah Food Bank Mobile Food Pantry. For some team members, the experience of helping those who are less fortunate was an eye-opening one.
I didn't know how much of a issue getting food was in Utah. It's a huge problem. So to be able to help them out and you know, just see them and then make sure they're having a good time, we're having a good time, it's awesome.
Always feels good to serve. Aside from the players, coaches, and team staff all jumped in to help. The food drive was started 2 years ago by RSL defender Marcela Silva.
We are trying to evacuate.
Scary moments when a pipe bomb is found in South Salt Lake. How police discovered the device.
I think of him as just a light. He was just a light to everyone around him.
An accident claims the life of a Riverton teen just weeks before he was set to graduate. How his family's keeping his memory alive.
Chances are you have some idea of what to do if you encounter a rattlesnake. But does your dog know what to do? We'll tell you how you can train your dog for these types of situations.
A massive effort here in Washington County to get rid of grass in the drought.
The Utah Grizzlies with a chance to win their series tonight and sweep the Rush.
Tense moments as a pipe bomb was discovered near the Raising Cane's fast food restaurant on State Street in South Salt Lake, right near 2100 South.
Investigators detonated that device at about 1 this afternoon. Fox 13 News reporter Spencer Joseph has the latest.
It's intense, right? Because we want, not only are we looking at our safety, but the community safety. We want to make sure nobody's harmed. We are trying to evacuate and make sure people are at a safe distance.
Tense moments in South Salt Lake as police discover a pipe bomb.
We took it seriously. We activated the Unified Fire Authority bomb team. We are still conducting an investigation into where this may have been from.
While police believe the device to be real, they aren't sure why it was placed here.
There was no threat associated with this. It was just the device which was located.
Evacuating the Raising Cane's as well as shutting down State Street for a short time.
We did remove all the employees from Raising Cane's. They were evacuated.
Right now, they don't have any leads, but
we will probably look at surveillance videos and look at what's available and talking to people and witnesses in the area.
And police believe its proximity to Tuesday morning's homicide is just a coincidence.
We don't believe that there's a nexus involved in this at this point.
You had that threat at the U. Could that also be something that you...
We have not looked into that. We have not made that connection and looked at that. That is something probably to review and look at as the investigators move forward.
Thankfully, no one was hurt, but a lot of questions remain.
Right now, we're just still processing this scene.
Investigators have gathered all of the information from here and they will be going through that, but at this point, they're asking the public if anyone knows anything to contact the South Salt Lake Police Department. Spencer Joseph, Fox 13 News, Utah.
An Ogden man is accused of murdering a woman in Alaska. 38-year-old Anesha Duffy Murnane has been missing since October of 2019. Police in Homer, Alaska say a tip led them to identify the suspect as this man, 32-year-old Kirby Calderwood, who now lives in Ogden. He was arrested yesterday. Alaskan media outlets report investigators say Calderwood and Murnane knew each other, and he offered her a ride, but then took her to a house where he raped and killed her. Murnane's body has never been found, although she was declared dead last June.
An Orem man was arrested early this morning on suspicion of killing his girlfriend and trying to cover up the crime. First responders were called to a house near 20th North Main Street in Orem and found the body of a woman with significant injuries to her face, including a puncture wound. Investigators later suspected her boyfriend, 27-year-old Luis Manuel Vargas Lopez, had carried out the crime and tried to clean up the scene with floor cleaner. He faces charges of murder, obstruction of justice, and domestic violence in the presence of a child. Police have not released the name of the victim. A Jeep accident last Friday night claimed the life of a Riverton teen who was set to graduate from high school in the next few weeks.
Fox 13 News reporter Chris Arnold spoke with Tegan Brown's family, who says he made an impact on so many people.
He was just a light to everyone around him.
It's that light that hasn't dimmed for Kiana Miller, even after her cousin Tegan died in an accident late Friday night.
He did more in his 18 years of life than I think most people do in a lifetime.
Police say the Riverton High School senior was riding in a Jeep with some friends around 10 p.m. They say Brown was holding onto a strap when it broke and he flipped out of the car. He would be taken to a local hospital where he later died from his injuries.
It's not real yet. It doesn't feel real. It doesn't seem like it could even be possible, you know, for Tegan to be gone.
The community has rallied around the family. These pictures from a vigil at Brown's High School on Sunday, which was organized by some of his friends.
He is loved by so many, and that is comforting to know that he's just that great of a guy.
We had one young man that came up to my aunt and uncle afterwards and just told them, I want you to know that I'm here because of your son. That a while ago I had contemplated committing suicide, and he really helped me get through that hard time.
Miller tells Fox 13 News that Brown was very active growing up, playing different sports to even camping and hiking with his family. While she says nobody can replace her cousin, she has plenty of memories that she will cherish.
His presence, his smile, he gave the best hugs. Anybody would tell you he gave the greatest, biggest hugs.
Miller tells me the family has picked out a couple hashtags to keep Tegan's memory alive. They're Live Like Tegan and Love Like Tegan. Just a simple tribute for a family that's grieving the loss of someone who made such an impact in such a short time. In Riverton, Chris Arnold, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Members of the Utah National Guard and emergency responders have a new tool to prepare for urban disasters.
It's called the Collapsed Structure Venue, and it just opened at Camp Williams. It helps personnel train for rescue operations in a collapsed structure after an earthquake or other natural disaster, or possibly even a terrorist incident.
We have to make sure everything's shored up and properly won't collapse or roll on us more, and then we go in and rescue people in really tight environments.
So for this group to have a facility that allows us to be better prepared for that kind of stuff, we're ready to go, and this is what we need these facilities for, so we're better prepared and we're well trained.
This is one of only 3 such training venues on the West Coast.
Coming up, beware of rattlers. We'll show you where rattlesnakes are being seen in Utah and how to avoid serious injury to you and your pet.
And celebrating the driving of the Golden Spike at Promontory Summit 153 years ago today.
Here is an alert for dog owners. The rattlesnakes are out, and your dog might get curious and pay a terrible price.
In fact, a Reddit post is getting a lot of attention right now after a golden retriever was apparently bitten by a rattlesnake near Red Butte Gardens. Fox 13 News reporter Eliana Sheriff found out how dog owners can prepare for the trail.
With 7 species of rattlesnakes in Utah, it's not uncommon to find one while recreating.
This time of year, they're out kind of on the move, looking for food and, warmer conditions after a long winter. And they like kind of rocky slope areas.
But while most rattlesnake safety is common sense for us, for Fido, it's a different story. Alicia Robinson says in October of 2020, she lost her dog of 10 years after he got curious and sniffed a snake that made no warning sounds.
We were just hiking in Mill Creek Canyon on a trail that we had been on multiple times and never had a problem.
Her dog Fred was on a leash and on the trail.
And I just saw him stick his head down to the side of the trail to sniff at the ground, and in a little bit of brush right on the side of the trail, there was a rattlesnake.
She said the snake didn't rattle until after it had bit her dog, and she was trying to get around it to get Fred off the trail and into the vet's office.
The venom moved really quickly through his body, unfortunately.
After 3 vials of anti-venom, Fred still succumbed to his injuries, likely from a clot that formed from the venom. It's an experience Alicia wants other dog owners to hear so they can prevent this from happening to their best friend. Now she's advocating for classes that will teach your dogs to avoid or avert danger, something she didn't know existed until after losing Fred.
I really wish I did. I mean, it would have saved my dog's life at that point, I believe.
Alicia has put her dogs through the training, which uses live snakes and encourages other owners to consider the same. Side-by-Side Training began offering this rattlesnake avoidance class last spring.
We are positive reinforcement trainers, and we teach the dogs to actually avoid and go away from the rattlesnake.
Most of their training focuses on avoidance, which is different than aversion.
Just seeing that there was a need for something different, a need to teach the dogs what to do instead of just being afraid of the snakes.
In Salt Lake City, Eliana Sheriff, Fox 13 News, Utah.
The reality is we live in a desert and we rely on a single source for water. So we have to do all that we can to be water wise.
And being water wise means tearing out lawns and putting desert friendly landscaping. All part of the program now underway in southern Utah. We'll show you how it works.
Does Donovan Mitchell still have room to improve as a player? Quinn Snyder will tell us coming up in sports. And 2 sisters battle it out for his 6A state championship. With the freshman or senior come out on top?
What we're doing down here is almost inspirational because it has never been done before.
A massive effort will get underway in southern Utah. Cities will start tearing out water hogging lawn and replacing it with desert-friendly landscaping.
It's a major effort to save water in Utah's drought emergency. Fox 13 News political reporter Ben Winslow has the story from southern Utah.
Here in Washington City, crews are tearing up turf right outside the cemetery and an athletic field.
We've identified areas throughout the city that we have deemed as non-functional turf or grass that does not have a defined recreational purposeful use. And we are removing that grass and we're replacing it with more of a native desert scape.
It's part of a statewide effort to get rid of non-functioning turf and replace it with more water-wise landscaping.
The reality is we live in a desert and we rely on a single source for water. So we have to do all that we can to be water wise.
More than 85% of the grasses being removed are here in Washington County. That's more than 100,000 square feet of grass, roughly the size of 2 football fields.
It's going to save over 4 million gallons of water a year. And so we're really excited about it, and we're really excited to show that you can really still have great landscaping.
Southern Utah reservoirs are actually doing okay so far this year, but growth and the ongoing drought emergency are forcing everyone to rethink what they're using water for.
We're still asking people to conserve water because we are in a drought condition. The governor also put out that emergency declaration, and so we encourage people to follow that.
Cities across Washington County are reviewing their landscaping ordinances with an emphasis on water savings.
I would say the days of non-functioning green grass are over. But we're still going to have grass down here. Grass has a purpose. We want our kids to go out and play on it. We want people to recreate on it. But that's just that we want it to be functional grass that people are actually using.
Washington City's mayor says they started removing unnecessary turf last year. They're replacing it with plants that still cool but use less water.
This is a very visual way for those who live here in Washington to see the city is leading by example. We're removing non-functional turf. We're doing landscape conversions to desertscape, and we're hopeful that that they see and that they choose to follow suit.
Now, a number of communities are offering incentives to get rid of non-functional grasses. To find out how you can get in on it, check with your local city hall or water conservancy district. In St. George, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Rangers with Capitol Reef National Park are asking for help to find fossils that they believe were stolen from the park. Investigators believe the fossils were taken between August 2017 and August 2018. Reptile track fossils were removed from a trackway in the park. A reward of up to $1,000 is being offered for information that leads to the location of the fossils.
Golden Spike National Historic Park celebrated 153 years since the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad. Steam locomotives, Irish songs, Chinese lion dancers, and a reenactment of the driving of the Golden Spike were all part of this celebration. The event focused on the workers from different ethnic and cultural backgrounds whose efforts were vital to completing the railroad. It also highlighted how that railroad impacted Native American homelands.
Well, it was a beautiful day today, but a little breezy out there. Here is the view across the Ogden Valley. Thanks so much to Barbie for posting this picture in our Facebook group. Here's what you need to know for tomorrow. It's going to be warm and it's going to be windy. Areas of blowing dust a possibility. Chances for rain and snow across northern and central Utah. Tomorrow night, quick storm moves through. A hot weekend ahead. Hottest temperatures of the year so far. So for tomorrow, we have wind advisories across the West Desert, central and eastern and southern Utah. Anything that's not secured in your yard could blow around. We could see some power outages. I always recommend keeping your phone pretty charged on a day like what we're going to see tomorrow. We do have the possibility of some travel impacts for high-profile vehicles. And then rough conditions are going to be in the lakes, plus areas of blowing dust could create some tough visibility as well for travel. Plus, we have fire concerns. Red flag warnings have been issued. That's what you're seeing in the hot pink Bryce Canyon down towards Zion into Washington County. So what is a red flag warning? Just a refresher, since this is the first of the year that's been issued. So it's either a fire weather warning or red flag warning, interchangeable. Warm temperatures, very low relative humidities, plus strong winds mean that anytime a fire does start, it will spread very quickly and it's going to be difficult to get under control. It is recommended to avoid outdoor burning, and that's going to be for southwest Utah from noon until 9 p.m. tomorrow. We're mainly going to be dry here across the state tonight. Could see a few sprinkles into Nevada if you're joining us from any of our Nevada counties in eastern Nevada. Temperatures for many of you when you wake up tomorrow morning close to 40 degrees for Provo, Eagle Mountain, Tooele, Salt Lake, Ogden. We could briefly drop into the 30s here in Salt Lake City tonight. Tomorrow for a high in Salt Lake, 68, Ogden 66, Provo 69. A little breezy here along the Wasatch Front, but downright windy for Cedar City, Richfield, St. George. Temperatures 60 to 75 degrees for central and southern Utah. For eastern Utah, 80s for Moab, low 70s for Price and Vernal with a lot of wind. Come tomorrow night, 10 o'clock, we start seeing a few showers near the Nevada border into western Utah. We're going to see our best chance for the areas of Valley, Rain Mountain snowfall through early Thursday. That quickly exits. Then we're hot for days 6 to 10 through the 20th of May. We're going to be warm here out west, and we're likely going to be dry here out west. For St. George, you're in the 70s through Thursday, 80s on Friday, close to 90, close to 100 degrees Saturday through Tuesday. Hottest temperatures so far this year across the state. 60s for Salt Lake through Friday, 77 on Saturday, mid-80s Sunday through Tuesday, our first 80-degree day of the year.
Google the name Donovan Mitchell right now, and trade rumors are going to pop up. Mitchell is still under contract with the Jazz for 3 more seasons, but he's not leaving anytime soon unless he's involved in a trade. At 25 years old, Mitchell has been an all-star the last 3 seasons, but head coach Quinn Snyder feels Mitchell still has room to improve as a player.
Donovan's he's a young player, so I think the question itself is a good one, and I think it's one that he asks himself as well. That, you at his age and this point in his career, it's great that you have areas to improve. He's someone that's shot the ball like crazy in the playoffs, and didn't shoot it as well this year. But we know what a good shooter he is, whether it's off the dribble or catch and shoot. How can every player improve to help the team win? There may be 10 areas you want to improve in, but prioritizing them, I think, is also important. And, that's what kind of creates a plan for your off season and the things that you embrace and work on.
Utah Grizzlies with a chance to win their second round playoff series with a win at Rapid City. Ben Tardif scores, put the Grizzlies up 2-1 in the first period. It was all Grizzlies early in the second. Tardif shoots again and scores. The Grizzlies built a 5-2 lead, but the Rush rallied back. 3 straight goals to tie it up at 5-5. That's where it is right now in overtime. Final round of the girls' 6A Golf State Tournament. 2 sisters from Lone Peak started the day tied for the lead. Berlin Long here and her younger sister Aiden with a nice putt on the 8th hole. The freshman finished second at 3 over par. Berlin played solid. Nice approach shot with the wind blowing on the 7th hole. The future BYU player finished second at state last year. So, yeah, she's hungry for her senior season. She rolls in the final putt to win the individual state championship at even par. She led Lone Peak to the teen state title as well.
It feels really good. After last year, it was really tough. It was a tough loss. We lost by 1 as a team and individual. So it was tough, so it feels good to be able to get it this year.
And then you get the individual, but yet your whole team gets it as well. What's that like to share that with your girls?
It just makes it that much better, right? It's so much more fun, so I'm really excited and happy for our team.
In 5A Timpview's Sunbin Seo had an amazing stretch on the back nine, going birdie, eagle, birdie to win the individual state championship at 3 under par, leading Timpview to the team title as well.
Wow, birdie, eagle, birdie. That's a nice little run.
Yeah, 4 under after 3 holes. That's pretty good.
That's
at any level. Yeah.
Great athletes. And so good to hear about the Grizzlies. I know we're in overtime right now, but they've been on a hot streak themselves.
Yeah, they could win their series tonight. Let's see how it ends up in overtime. 5-5, Rapid City. So we'll see.
Thanks, Jeff.
We'll be right back. The device that helped Apple change the entire music industry will soon be just a digital memory. The tech giant says it is discontinuing the iPod. It was first introduced in 2001. First portable MP3 player that could hold up to 1,000 songs. Now, of course, we all just listen to music on our phones.
Feels like yesterday when that came out. It was like the thing to have.
Yeah.
Wow.
Change the world.
Quick Cast is next.